Hi, everybody. This is Minister Charles Nolen. I seem to keep showing up somehow one way or another. And today we have a very, very special show. It's all about who this young lady is. Her name is Timpf. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, and she is a co-host on the Greg Gutfeld show on Fox News. And, it is true that she is a good person and that she has no reason to be depressed whatsoever, even though she could be, but because she's a normal human being, but she doesn't have to be. And she does have a mother, and her mother has been seen holding her. You wouldn't believe it if I told you, so I'll show you. There you go. That's Timpf's mom and Timpf when she was just a itty-bitty child. Now, what I wanted to do here today was I wanted to play interviews to show off Timpf's style. And right before we do that, well, no, I'm going to just get right into it. Let's get into the highlight reel. This has some music and shows various things from a show that Timpf did with Greg Gutfeld. So enjoy this, and I'll be back right after this.
Hustle and lack of muscle. New York Times bestselling author of Fox News. Mike, that was quite an array of Democrats I displayed here tonight. What are your thoughts on their current situation?
It was a cavalcade.
It really
primary that guy, and he will probably lose because they'll throw the entire weight of the machine.
Clip I've seen of her that I really loved.
Kat, what did you make of? Take your.
Of course. That was good. She lost her temper, so she seemed human, which was nice. And isn't it terrible just how refreshing that is? Someone in our government seemed like a human being.
Yes. Our bar is so low.
The bar is so low, just like with Fetterman. The fact that they're going after him is so insane when you look at what it is that he's doing apparently wrong, which is just saying that he cares about people who voted for Trump.
Yeah.
He knows people who voted for Trump. But as if that's not the entire problem with all of these people who throw around the Hitler and this and that. It's people who don't actually know people who voted for Trump, or it's people who want to paint people this way to gain power for themselves. So that's kind of getting rid of that tool for other people. But it's at the cost of comes at a huge cost for the rest of our country and our relationships with each other.
Yeah, it's dividing
this person.
Yeah.
I welcome her. Please, that'd be like if we were going to yeah. He is New York's problem. And this is the thing.
Cheers.
Here's the thing about Fetterman.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Fetterman. Before
crime, being both a victim and a suspect.
Being attempted carjacking, you should get more than just a slap on the wrist.
I mean, people do a poll. Kids are scary and bad.
I actually don't think kids think that's fun. I don't think this is normal. It's not normal. I think I want to say I agree with Jim, but then what does that do to me? You know? but I do. It's there should be lenience for normal teenage shenanigans or shenanigans that a lot of teens engage in but don't get caught doing. You were drinking a beer at a party and the cops busted up or something like that. But this is not a normal youthful rite of passage to beat the out of a guy.
Yeah.
That's not normal teen. There's something in you that's gone awry if you're doing something like that.
Yeah, and you know what it is? It's reverse racism, which is racism tyrants. It's because the
4 years where they were unfortunately a lot of young brothers and Mike. It just goes back to the thing when this country we let the okie doke. They switched it up on us.
I come to you last, Mike, because
Life is pretty simple, and it comes down to what Tyrus was saying about parenting, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows this was consequences. It's not going to do anything other than result in recidivism.
Tyrus, what's worse, her reasoning or the way she talks?
Look, this is the handiwork of the evil Otto pen has struck again.
Yes. The problem with analogies, I love analogies, but maybe
workshopping might have helped her here. Maybe this. You know what? She must not have a group chat.
No, she doesn't.
She must not have a group chat. Hey besties. So I think I have this idea. I think I have a hot take. I think this is really good. And then there would be silence in the group chat for several minutes while they would start a separate group chat without her. And they would then decide how to let her know that if she does this, it's going to be very bad.
Yeah. That'd be great, though, a Supreme Court group chat. Mike, you know what? What do you think it's the ones that we don't like? or the whole section out. So are Nepo children the new fat people?
This married man admitted he sat in his hotel pantsless watching it? No, I think...
I know Kathy. I like her.
And Cooper just totally dumped her. And a lot of the times, I think when you go through something like that, you're isolated. That's how you become further into that.
Yeah, but I do think the people that might intercede in her life, she also probably blocked out because they might have been for Trump. It's like if you're a drug addict, you start eliminating people who don't do drugs in your life. And
Coming from, I don't know her personally, unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Our time is up.
Okay.
Kat Timpf, she's an amazing individual. And we've got to give her a lot of credit and kudos for everything that she puts up with on that Gutfield show. But I just wanted to show her off because she's really quite talented. And she, offers our community a lot of stuff. Now, here she is showing up on this wonderful little show with one of her Fox News contributor comrades. And I'll get back to you on the other side as soon as it's over. Just enjoy this and let me know what you think. Kennedy saves the world.
To be where you are right now, it is beyond inspiring and satisfying, and I wish you many years of tranquility because you deserve it.
I know. I feel like maybe hopefully next year could be a little more chill.
Come on, man.
But it's I'm already feeling because my hormones are already being all right, you should have another baby. You looked really cute pregnant. But Cam's like, are you insane? Because honestly, to be honest, if I got pregnant within the next year, I probably would end up in an institution. That would be, I need a break. I need a year where there's nothing happening.
As you can see, Kennedy does, as usual, save the world. And we hope that they both have the greatest of times in making more shows for Fox News and whatever else they're doing. We've got another one here where she's on a Gutfield show talking about Kamala Harris and various other things. So I hope that you'll watch this and enjoy it until the end. Thank you. And I'll see you on the other side.
A story in 5 words.
Kamala skipped over Mayor Pete. Jim, this is great. She writes in her new book, Buttigieg would have been an ideal partner if I were a straight white man, but we were already asking a lot of America because we're all real stupid, racist people. That's not in the book. Because to accept a black woman married to a Jewish man who nannies. Also not in the book. Part of me wanted to say, screw it, let's just do it. But knowing what was at stake, it was too big a risk. You know what I love about this? She wants credit for almost doing something. Well, then we all get the same credit, because I didn't pick him either.
What's the gay? What does it mean? Because the white straight male. I don't understand that part. What does that mean?
I think
it would have been great if I was a white straight male.
Then he could have picked. He could have picked a gay male. She's basically saying that America is too bigoted to accept a woman of color and a man of penis.
But that. this.
Well, that analogy worked.
I don't know where I am. I'm sorry. Would you have cared?
No, but why does everything have to be an identity?
Yes.
Almost if I gotta just put oranges in a stack, or why do I have to be a dwarf, gay, transgender, black, married to a Jewish female transvestite on Wednesdays that bang sheep? I don't get it. Why do you need an identity? That's what all they run for.
Yeah,
Who cares?
Yeah, and
who cares?
And it just like it doesn't work anymore. I think people are tired of it. You know, Kat, it just reminds me. She reminds me of somebody, and you know, somebody goes, "Oh, I almost ran the marathon." Like it's like I almost volunteered at the soup kitchen, but I didn't.
You know what this means?
What?
You know what this means? It's astounding. This means the fact that she's sharing this means she believes that the thing that she did wrong was not be woke enough.
Yes, yeah.
She's like, if only perhaps I'd chosen the gay guy.
Yeah. That's the lesson.
My running mate was simply too masculine.
Yeah, Tim Waltz.
That's what she's thinking at night. I chose too manly of a man for my running mate, and that's why I didn't win.
And when you argue that Tim Waltz is gayer than Mayor Pete,
way gayer. Way gayer.
It's just a stunning lack of touch with reality.
Wait to get this book. We're gonna read it. We're gonna have a book club. Tyrus, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how a DEI hire, that's Kamala, refused to pay it forward to another DEI hire? It's like what she got in power. She's like, I ain't doing no gay dude. Give me the weird white guy. I'll take him. He's a veteran.
Yeah, I think she once had a great answer.
Yeah.
And her book should be called Nothing Comes to Mind. Like, I think,
Could you imagine what her book would be like if she wrote it?
Yeah, it would have a lot of wine stains on it, cartoon drawings.
Yeah.
And a lot of misspelling.
Yes.
I almost, every time I get mad at my kids, I'll say, I almost pulled out. Like, it doesn't matter. There's another analogy.
What is that phrase? Almost only counts in horseshoes?
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, I learned that on The View.
And drive-in movies.
In drive-in movies? Yeah. You are a nasty girl. You are a nasty, nasty girl. I want to hear more, Michelle. Why do you think she said, why is she saying this?
She has to come up with excuses, right, for why she didn't win. The point is, Kamala, you were a putrid candidate. You were a horrible, horrible, horrible candidate. And I don't think any vice president, except maybe Josh Shapiro, could have saved her. So I remember being on The View one time, and Sunny Hostin, when Biden was in office, said, look at his cabinet. It's the most diverse cabinet in American history. She didn't care if they were qualified or not.
Yeah.
She just said diversity. But now there's too much diversity. This also shows what a terrible president she would have made, because she has no spine, no ability to just say identity doesn't matter here, Mayor Pete. You're going to be my vice presidential candidate. We're not going to, elaborate on how gay you are or whatever. We're just going to, you're the guy. You're the guy. But she didn't have the spine to do, if she really believed that was who she wanted, she didn't have the spine to do it. And that is leadership 101.
I don't think we're being fair to Mayor Pete.
Yeah.
How do we know when she said, hey, Mayor, he was like, no.
Yeah. Well, you probably, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm gay. No, you don't. I'm so gay right now.
It is amazing that Biden picked her to be VP and then was chosen to run for president just to keep her from driving.
I mean, if she would have came to me and said, hey, Tyrus, I want you to be the VP, I'd be like, nope, I'm gay. You wouldn't like it.
No. All right, we must move on. Up next, D.C. curbs kid crime.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope that you're enjoying this Kat Timpf show all. We're having these great little things. I have one more for you to look at. And she did an interview with Liberty, Roger Ream, I think his name was. And I hope that you will watch this and enjoy it and learn a lot more about Kat Timpf. That is the whole reason I'm doing this tonight. I hope you're enjoying the program and enjoy about Kat Timpf. We'll have more on the other side.
Welcome to the Liberty and Leadership Podcast, a conversation with TFAS alumni, faculty, and friends who are making an impact today. I'm your host, Roger Reen. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Kat Timpf to the Liberty and Leadership Podcast. Kat is a television personality, writer, and comedian. She's a regular panelist on Fox News' Gutfeld, and her national comedy live show has sold out theaters across the country. We are proud to also mention that Kat was a 2012 Robert Novak Journalism Fellow, and her work has been widely published in outlets including National Review, The Washington Times, Barstool Sports, Fox News, and more. Kat is the New York Times best-selling author of You Can't Take a Joke, and her fascinating new book, I Used to Like You Until How Binary Thinking Divides Us, has just been released. So let me preface the conversation just by mentioning for the audience benefit that there might be some mature themes used in this podcast, but you've covered a lot of ground in the book. And your basic theme is it comes at a time when our society is so divided and polarized. And you have experiences that you write about in there that are similar to some others have had, I think. Probably not to the extent you have working at Fox News, but could you first talk about your motivation in writing the book?
Well, I was writing this book as I was on tour for the first book. I'm on tour again right now. I'm going literally all over the country, so come check me out if you haven't seen me. But I did almost 40 cities last tour for the last book, and I went all over. And I went to places that were very, very different. I went to Portland, Oregon, but I also went to Midland, Texas, just for example. Those are very different places. People who live there are very different. But what I kept finding was that as different as these people were, a lot of us, most of us, in fact, want the same things out of life and value a lot of the same things. What our differences are is how do we get there? And I just, for example, being someone who's for small government, sometimes that gets spun as if there's a problem, I don't think that the government is the best at solving. That gets spun as not caring about the problem itself, which is a very different thing. But, I also I kind of already suspected this because I'm somebody who has a lot of different kinds of friends. I'm independent politically. In terms of partisan alliance. I mean, I'm just for small government across the board, which places me at odds with people in both major parties, depending on the issue and depending on the day, really. But I have friends who are conservatives, but they hate Trump. I have friends who are super MAGA, love Trump. I have friends who are to the left of AOC. These are all very valuable relationships to me in some way. So I have, I think, a unique perspective. So this book is a guide, really, for how to connect with someone who may have written you off. Because now there's this impulse to hear one thing about a person, whether it's who they voted for or an association like where they work, and say, oh, that tells me everything I need to know about that person. And it also is a guide for, or an explainer for why you should want to, because this division really hurts us in our relationships, but it's very beneficial to politicians. And so it's not just for the sake of our relationships, but also for our freedoms is why we need to pay attention to something like this.
So you mentioned in the book, the reaction if you're at a party and strangers come up and they ask the, question, what do you do? Which is always the question you ask a stranger, I guess. And you talk about the fact that if you say Fox News, you get such a reaction that you instead would say something like, I work in the porn industry.
Yeah, I've said that before.
Yeah, and you get a very different reaction. Like then their tolerance level is up high. And
it's way higher. Yes, of course. And I've done this at parties. We've all been in that situation where you're talking to someone at a party who you'll literally never see again, but you're stuck talking to them for a couple minutes anyways. And they always ask, so what do you do? And I don't want to change the whole vibe of the party and the whole vibe of my night by saying Fox News. So I've said I work in porn. And they're always like, oh, cool. And then they move on to something else. Or I've said, no, thank you. Because, if I say Fox News, then it's like, oh, well, how could you? And it's like, Fox News is a platform. It is not an idea in of itself. It's a platform on which to share them. And I get attacked often just for working here from people who have never heard me open my mouth. They've never heard me say a single thing. it doesn't matter to them. And that's really harmful.
They might share the same views on a whole range of issues with you.
Absolutely. And in many cases, that is the case with people where you think you hear one thing. I mean, we've gotten so far beyond being able to think independently where now it's people often can't perceive it. Where let's say you say something critical about Trump, then people will say, oh, well, you're a communist, or you love Kamala, or you love Biden. And really, you might have had that very specific criticism of Trump. And it works in the reverse too, of course. If you criticize Kamala, say, oh, well, you're a super ultra MAGA and you might not even like Trump at all. Or you might like some things about him, or you might, it's issues are often complex and nuanced, but people always are. And we act differently in a lot of our approaches to one another. And this isn't just my opinion. There's like studies in my book that back this up as well. There's something called the perception gap that I write about where people in one party hugely overestimate the amount of people in the other party that have so-called extreme views. So we're writing each other off a lot of times for things that aren't even real.
Yeah, and you refer to this, of course, as binary thinking, which is, it's everything's black and white. It's Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal. And it seems to be particularly pervasive today. And you describe it as the enemy of critical thinking, which is right on target, I think it is. Have you found that through the experiences you've had, you find ways to overcome that when you, besides saying I'm in the porn industry, I mean, can you find ways to engage people in a productive conversation who would normally just want to push you aside because of where you work?
Yes. And I think that the main tool that I use is what I do throughout the book, even though it's very scary to do, which is being vulnerable, which that's the whole point of my book cover where you see, I'm naked and I'm covered in a bunch of hate mail letters. And the idea is vulnerability in the face of hatred. I share a lot of things in this book that I've never talked about before, that struggles, things I've been through, stuff that I know I'm going to get hate for or have people judge me for. And I have gotten hate for some of the things that I've shared. But to me, it's worth it because to me, I think vulnerability is going to be a huge way for us to get out of this mess. Because being vulnerable makes it more likely that someone's going to have compassion for you, at the very least, see you as a human. And, if we want to start seeing each other as humans, we got to be willing to show that we are humans. I have done this in life where, I try not to look at social media too much, but where I've seen tweets.
You don't read
really
that hate mail, I hope.
Oh, I get a lot of it from both sides, quite frankly. But there's been times when I get something really hateful, and I will DM the person privately, and I'll say that really hurt my feelings. And 9 times out of 10, truly, the other person will be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean blah, blah, blah. Even though like the person told me to kill myself or something horrific, it's like, well, what did you think? But they weren't seeing me as a human being. So I really do think it's a difficult thing to do. And it's also, I think, really counterintuitive with social media, where on Instagram, you're posting a highlight reel of your life and so on and so forth. Look at this beautiful picture of, even could be as simple as me and my family on Easter, and we're all dressed up, but you ignore like the meltdown the toddler had in the car, something like that. Everybody's going through, whether it's something smaller like that or something bigger, like I write about mental health things that I've gone through. I write about an abusive relationship that I was in, it was very seriously abusive relationship I was in. You never really know what somebody's going through. And often we give people no grace at all. And another theme of my book is mental health, because I think that we've never paid more lip service to mental health as an idea, but we've never given less grace to people going through mental health issues once it starts to look a little ugly, which it almost always does.
Yeah. Years ago, I worked for Leonard Reed, who was the founder of the Foundation for Economic Education. And he used to tell a story in every speech he gave about getting this hateful piece of mail in the letter from some union organizer on the Longshoremen's Union. And he decided to respond to it. He said, as if God was responding to him, to show kindness, to give him a very thoughtful letter back. And over this correspondence with the guy, he turned the guy into this believer in free enterprise and free markets, who was out proselytizing to other people on the docks about freedom and free markets. And that's because he treated the people with that kind of grace that you point out is so often missing. And I think it's great advice you offer, particularly at this time. You did write that, so many people notice just a single thing about a person and then assume that tells you everything about them. And that is so true and hard to overcome that fact. But, you know, if people watch you on Fox News, they seem to latch on to maybe one opinion they disagree with, even though you're expressing other opinions all the time that they might agree with. I mean, you have your own positions, your own voice. You think critically about issues, and you express them as you say, a small L libertarian who fears tyranny by government. Does that win you some support from a libertarian audience that might be out there?
Well, that's obviously a small audience, but also I'm a small L libertarian. I'm not a member of the Libertarian Party. Right. I'm a registered independent. But I don't really have any allies, quite frankly. And it'd be a lot easier if I did. My book is selling well. I could sell a book, many more of a book, especially now during this time, about digging in on one side or the other, about how the other side is so evil, it's so bad, and you're the best because you're not on that side. And I would sell a lot more books. I would sell out my shows faster. I mean, I do sell out shows, but not all of them, and not, I would probably sell all of them out. And I've chosen not to do that because I'm going to be honest about what I really believe and what I really feel, knowing sometimes it's not going to be popular. And, because I really think we just have so much to lose. I know we have so much to lose, but it can be very difficult sometimes. It can be really difficult sometimes. Knowing that I've chosen less money for myself. I've chosen, because I will get criticized by the Fox audience for if I am ever critical of anything Trump said or done, which I have been at times and will be again, I'm sure. But then it's not like I win points with the other side either, because the fact that I work here, people hate me, like I said earlier, who've never even heard me open my mouth. They just see where I work. I've been called horrible names only because I work here, that I'm a horrible person. I'm actually at my core rotten, disgusting, nasty, horrible person because I work here. So I have no allies, but I know that I'm sticking to my principles and my values, and that's really enough for me.
Yeah, there's that old story that, of Michael Jordan being pressured to endorse a candidate in a North Carolina Senate race many years ago, and he refused to do it. And he said, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Right. For me, it's the opposite because of the business that I'm in, right? I mean, working at Fox, I know what the audience wants me to say. I know going into a segment what the people watching want me to say. Sometimes I agree with the audience and my opinion will reflect that, but sometimes I don't.
I went to a Bruce Springsteen concert on Friday night, and I was anticipating hearing politics from the stage, and there was none. It was great. I was glad not to have to deal with him talking about politics. And I thought to myself, that audience was probably close to 50-50 divided between Trump and Harris. Nowadays, especially when the Springsteen audience is in their 60s and 70s, and given where it was. But I thought, well, he didn't want to antagonize. He probably would have got booed by half the audience if he started endorsing a candidate or talking politics in there. And I think we politicize too much in our society, and that's a problem with the big government we have as well. And you make a really interesting point in there about if you say you're against a particular government program, you already touched on it earlier, people will assume that means you don't want to help the people that program's intended to help. And you and I know so often those programs are counterproductive. They subsidize the problem rather than solve it. How do we overcome that sense among people that if we're against expanding a government program, it doesn't mean we don't want to help the people that program's been proposed to help?
My book is an excellent guide. I will say, as you know, I provide a lot of examples of that in my book, and it's an excellent guide for how to talk to people like that. In short, I would say focus, a reminder that the focus on the problem, that you agree on the problem. I think a great example would be education, right? Criticizing any education, whether it's the Department of Education or criticizing any leaders in education, gets to be, you don't care about kids. You don't want kids to learn things, which is on its face ridiculous. And that's why I write a whole chapter in my book called Think of the Children, and how the powerful among us will often use kids as pawns, essentially, to get people to agree to bigger government. That honestly, if we could spend our way out of this, then I would be wanting to give even more money. But just one small example of locally here in New York, it just came out that, and my taxes here are absurd. I mean, I'm working for free half the year, okay? The amount that I have in taxes. And, you know, it just came out that these education bosses were taking money that this was supposed to be used to take homeless kids to Disney and taking their own kids instead. And that's just like one example of, I mean, so many examples where it's just, you say, where does this money go? I would have, saying that you have an issue with taxes doesn't mean you don't want to help people. It could just mean, I don't really know that this money is going towards the people. Where does this go? I've seen so many places where it goes with things I don't agree with, even for some people, where their money funds things that they are morally opposed to as well. So I think that is a good reframe. I agree with you that I want kids to be educated. I just don't think this is the best way. And that can be difficult, though, for people to give up. It can, because I also write about my book and research about how moral outrage is more often rooted in self-interest than it is in altruism, which makes a lot of sense, right? But it's that the more guilt or powerlessness you feel over a problem, the more you are then motivated to direct that outrage at a third-party target, and then you do feel better when you do. But it's easy, right? If the other side's all bad, evil people, then you get to be good just by not being on that side.
Yeah, there's the old adage, people have to think that you care before they care what you think. And I think that's how you address that issue, is you like you said, I'm really concerned that our kids aren't getting a good education. Therefore, I think we need to look at charter schools or school choice or alternatives to government schools. So you have a chapter in your book about religion and how religion impacted your relationship with your mother. And I thought that was a very interesting chapter as well. And I don't want to dive too deeply on that, but I wonder if the problem that you discuss in there has more to do with organized religion as how we see it often practiced today versus the actual religious beliefs that we find in at least some of the main religions in our society, that religion doesn't have to be binary, I guess.
It is in a lot of cases, though, and I will say this is the stuff I get attacked over a lot. I get called names you would not believe because I'm open about the fact that I'm not religious, and I would love to be. I know that I would be happier if I were. I can't get there. I hope I someday can get there. I think that there's a lot of great teachings in, for example, the Bible about loving your neighbor and I have values, okay? But I decide to be open, transparent, and vulnerable about the fact that actually my lack of, and I'm not an atheist, I'm just totally a question mark, agnostic, I guess is the word, but it is a struggle for me, and I'm open about it, and I do get viciously attacked, and I'm called evil and all these other things because I'm not, at this point in my life, religious. And there's a lot of misunderstanding between people who are not religious and people who are, and there's research about that in my book where both atheists, of which I'm not one, but let's just take atheists and Christians is what the study was about. They believed that they were morally superior to the other group, and they had misconceptions about the other group. I'm lucky enough to not fall into that because I also, again, in making my point, I do get into some very, very deep personal things about my relationship with my mom, who's been dead for 10 years, which wasn't easy to do either. But I have a lot of friends who are very devout Christians, and they're not judgmental, and they're not all these things that people can accuse Christians of being. So for me, the answer has always been getting to know people and having a curiosity about people rather than just being judgmental about people off the bat.
Yeah, well, I recommend the chapter to people because you do address it in an open and thoughtful way. And as you say, in a way that I guess shows your vulnerability by talking about your relationship with your mother. So that was excellent. I'm mindful of your time as well, but I did want to ask you a few more things. You last night, we're taping this the morning after you had President Trump on Gutfeld Could you tell me what that experience was like? I know you got in a question and comment or two. It was mostly Gutfeld interviewing the president and the president giving long answers to his to the questions, but it was interesting.
It was weird
relaxed.
because, I mean, he's surreal is the word. I mean, he's probably the most famous person in the entire world. And you see him on TV. I talk about him all the time. I've written about him. And he's just sitting right there. It was very strange. But it was just supposed to be like a fun show, and it was lighthearted. And I did ask him about aliens. He gave me like a non-answer, sadly, which I guess I expected. But he was nice. I mean, he's funny. It was a cool experience.
It was interesting, yeah.
It was a cool experience, for sure.
In 2012, you received a Robert Novak Journalism Fellowship. I think that's when I met you, because it was a year before we took over the program, but John Farley, who directed it, was including me in the retreats. And I think you were at a retreat that year, your first year there, and you had a project that related to the outsized influence California seems to have on the rest of the country. I'm just curious, was that program beneficial to you, and in what way? And
the program was hugely beneficial to me. It allowed me to, it kept me writing and working on things when I was working jobs that didn't have as much writing, but also financially, I don't know that I would have survived without it. So that's about as much of a difference as it can make, right? I was finishing it up when I lived in New York, and I was telecommuting for the campus reform job, which didn't pay a lot because, it's like it's small job, and it's in Virginia, and it was my choice to telecommute from New York City, which is very expensive. And with the help of the fellowship, I was able to eat, like pay my rent. I mean, I'm very, 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 I cannot say enough about how grateful I am for the opportunity, not just financially, but also to push me to write and have several bylines in these publications. I don't know where I'd be without it. So I can't say enough about how grateful I am for it.
Well, clearly John Farley was good at identifying talent, and the judges who selected you, I wish John were still around so he could see the success that you've had in your career, and as have so many other Novak fellows. You were with campus, you mentioned, did you go from there to National Review and write for them?
Yes.
And then you started getting the opportunities at Fox News?
Yeah, I started getting opportunities at Fox during my campus reform time, actually. I made a video for campus reform that went really viral on Fox. I'd already been on Fox and Friends a few times before, but that was the time when I was on air talking about this video that Greg Gutfeld saw me for the first time. And he was like, she looks kind of weird. We shove her on red eye. And then the rest is history. So
you've also been doing these comedy shows around the country. That, I guess, came out of your last book, or did it predate your last book?
I'd been doing stand-up on and off for 14 years, but I've quit several times. And my last book tour was more of like a one-woman show. But I kept just being like, and then my manager had me go out and start doing stand-up again, and he kind of tricked me because he's like, just try this, like, go do this show. Get up here over the summer. So now my new show is really more stand-up. It's very fun. It's loosely based on the book, and there is an interview portion about the book. It's not family friendly.
Yeah.
But if you're not easily offended and you don't mind like swearing, and it's raunchier, I guess, I don't know, then you should come. It's a fun show. Everybody has fun. Everybody laughs, but it's not for kids.
Now you're expecting a child in a few months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts as to how that may change you?
It already has.
Yeah.
I mean, it already has. I mean, I love this baby so much that I've not even met yet. It's really crazy. I was somebody who was scared to get married. I was scared to date a man seriously because I thought a serious relationship would be something that, interfered with my career. And what kind of happened was my career skyrocketed as soon as we started dating. And I think it's because I had this safe place of this home and this family that I felt more free than ever. And it was just so rewarding. So I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait. I really can't wait to meet the baby. I have no idea how it's going to change me because I have no frame of reference for it.
Well, one other question I was hoping to ask you was whether you have thought about whether writing books will be something that you'll continue to do. Do you enjoy the process?
Yes, I will. This is not my last book. Writing is the thing I'm the best at.
Yeah.
I love it. And I'm going to focus on, after the baby release, I guess, the baby release, as I call it, when I give birth, I hear you got to hang out with them for a few months, and that's kind of a pretty intensive job for a little bit. So I'm going to be on maternity leave, and I'm focusing on like adjusting to my new life as a mother.
Yeah.
But definitely far from my last book.
Well, the last thing, in as you know, each summer we bring about 300 college undergraduates to Washington, D.C. for a summer of live, learn, and intern, as we call it. They get internships. They take courses through George Mason that we sponsor. And we try to recruit the best and brightest students we can find. So they come from a lot of different perspectives. They aren't all self-identified, small L libertarians or conservatives. Some of these students don't really know yet what they believe. They might label themselves one way, but if you talk to them on issues, they're all over the place. And so what we really stress right out of the start of the program in June is the importance of civility, the importance of listening to others. And the things I say in orientation, we talk about, they're right front and center in this book of yours. And I just think it's so necessary today. And then, in June, this summer, the morning after the Trump-Biden debate, I said to the students, now, did you guys have, knockdown, drag out arguments in the dorm after the debate about who won and what they talked about? And they said, no, we just wanted to listen to each other and hear what each of us thought about it. And I thought that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish here, is get people to listen. And I, I like to say God designed us with 2 ears and 1 mouth and expects us to use them proportionally. And you learn from listening and reading, not from talking. But I just think it'd be excellent. We should give this book to our students. We should get you to come down and speak to our students in the summer, because the themes you write about in here are just so needed right now, especially with a young audience.
Thank you. That'd be great. I'm very passionate about this. Much hope for the future.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to accept an invitation to speak now, but I just hope that this book tour you're on now goes exceedingly well. I went to the local bookstore here in Washington, D.C. to buy a copy, and they didn't have any.
Yeah.
But Barnes & Noble in Virginia did, but we need to get into bookstores. We need to get into people's reading piles so they read the book and learn the lessons that you have to offer here.
Awesome. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Kat, for being with me on our Liberty and Leadership podcast. Best of luck to you on the tour, as well as on the upcoming arrival of your son, daughter. Do you know?
I don't know. The doctor knows, but I'm keeping it a surprise.
Okay, that's the way to do it.
I think it's a boy. My husband thinks it's a girl.
Well, we'll be thinking very positive about it all. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Liberty and Leadership Podcast. If you have a comment or question, please drop us an email at podcast@tfas.org. And be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app and leave a 5-star review. Liberty and Leadership is produced at Podville Media. I'm your host, Roger Ream, and until next time, show courage in things large and small.
I'm just very grateful that you guys are still here learning about Kat Timpf. And I want to give you some information you may not have known. Her full name is Catherine Claire Timpf. She was born October 29th, 1988 in Detroit, Michigan. Her education includes a graduation from magna cum laude. She graduated magna cum laude in 2010 with a BA in English from Hillsdale College. Her ideology and perspective identifies as a libertarian, uses comedy and commentary to address culture, politics, and free speech themes. Her career highlights: works as a contributor and panelist for Fox News Channel, most notably on the late-night show Gutfield. She's the author of books: You Can't Joke About That, Why Everything is Funny, Nothing is Sacred, and We're All in This Together, 2023. I used to be like I used to like you until How Binary Thinking Divides Us, 2024. Regularly appears on panels, does speaker engagements. Her biography says she believes the power of conversations to bridge gaps, political or otherwise. Personal life and recent developments. She's married to Cameron Frisia, together since 2021. In July 2024, they announced that they were expecting their first child. She gave birth to a son on February 25th, 2025. Her health and current major updates, which is something that we care very much about Kat Timpf, and we want her to have the best of health. In February 2025, just hours before giving birth, she was diagnosed with stage 0 breast cancer, ductal carcinoma in situ, or DCIS. She underwent a double mastectomy in March 2025 and later breast reconstruction surgery. She has announced a nipple reconstruction surgery scheduled for December 4th. She took a temporary break from appearing on Gutfield while undergoing treatment and recovery. The key takeaways we have with Kat is she's an amazing person, and she's gone through an awful lot, and she will continue to go through an awful lot because she is very useful and very important to our world and our society. Whether she's on Fox News, PBS, CBS, ABC, it wouldn't matter. She's Kat Timpf, and she has class, style, and she has what it takes. Despite the shock of the diagnoses coinciding with childbirth, Timpf emphasizes the positive outcome of early detection and uses her experience publicly. She continues her career while adapting to motherhood and health recovery, balancing personal life and professional commitments. Her work remains rooted in libertarian-leaning commentary, comedy, and bridging ideological divides through humor and discourse. That is just some of the stuff that goes on with Kat Timpf. I wanted to do this show about her because she really is a wonderful person, and she goes through an awful lot, and sometimes she doesn't necessarily feel that we're all in her corner, but there's a lot of people that are in her corner, that are on her side, and who are standing by her side, whether we're physically there or not, her and her entire family. We understand what you're all going through. We appreciate you, and thank you for tuning in tonight to see this. I have a special music video treat for you, and that is a burning fire. It's an unbelievable. It's a High Res and Jordan Mayer. Been a fire, baby. So enjoy this, and I'll be back on the other side to sign off and say maybe a few good things that you might want to hear. I hope and pray in Jesus' mighty name.
Lately there's been a fire burning in my soul. It's taking full control. I'll never let it go. 'Cause life can be hard when you feel like you're all alone. Nobody there to hold, nobody there to know you.
In the depths of my soul, fire burning bright. Made it out of darkness when I saw his light. Every single heartbeat, I could feel his grace. I'm not in a rush, I'm setting my own pace. There's a fire in my soul, more than just a flame. Was a slave to my mind, now I feel unchained. Now it's easier to get up every time I fall. All this love I possess, man, it conquers all. I know he got me through all of the highs and lows. Every path, every turn, every single road. I know that he there when I feel alone. Feel like I can't fail, I'll achieve my goals. There ain't a struggle I can't overcome. Even if you hate me, I still show you love. Was so anxious, confused, I was so depressed. Every breath, every step, now I feel so blessed.
There's been a fire burning in my soul. It's taking full control. I'll never let it go. 'Cause life can be hard when you feel like you're all alone. Nobody there to hold, nobody there to know you.
God lifted me out the darkest place. I worked so hard to beat the demons I faced. Circle getting smaller every single year. If I cut off on my friend, it might disappear. Every single day I would go and chase my vice. Now I know why God didn't take my life. 'Cause I got a bigger purpose and now it's clear exactly the reason for why I'm here. Letting go of the habits that hold me back from my kids and my wife, now I'm right on track. I had to leave a couple people in the past who couldn't grow with me, but I'm not sad. Satan been whispering them pretty lies. I never stay down, when I fall I rise. A father, a husband, a son, and a man. All I had to do was just trust in his plan. Lately there's been a fire burning in my soul. It's taking full control. I'll never let it go. 'Cause life can be hard when you feel like you're all alone. Nobody there to hold, nobody there to know you. This lonely road has been so long. I forgot the feeling of love, but I'm changing. Finally see that I'm blessed. The pain I had erased all the good, and now I'm coming back. Lately there's been a fire burning in my soul. It's taking full control. I'll never let it go. 'Cause life can be hard when you feel like you're all alone. Nobody there to hold, nobody there to know you, know you.
Jesus Christ loves you, my friends. This is Minister Charles Nolen saying, I hope that you have a God-blessed great night. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And I send you off with the Lord's Prayer because that's the way to do it. We do it in Arabic and in English. So enjoy it and have a great night. And thanks for tuning in. God bless you all. Seriously, it's that time of night. It's time to go to sleep. Good night. Jesus taught the Lord's Prayer to his disciples in the Aramaic language. Is this manner? Therefore pray, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us the bread we need today, and forgive us our sins and our debt, as we forgive those who sin against us. Do not bring us to trial, but deliver us from evil. For yours the kingdom, the power and the glory, to the ages of ages. Amen.